Jayo Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Sodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yasodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Banachari Yamuna Tira Banachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Govinda Madhava Govinda Madhava Shri Hare Jaya Krishna Balaram Jaya Krishna Balaram Krishna Balaram Jaya Krishna Balaram Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Jaya Gauranitai. Nita Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nita Gaur Hari Bol. Lord Premanande, Haribol. So, Om Namo Bhagavate. Om Namo Bhagavate. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Charu Swaminiti Namine. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Sarasvati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Niyadvishesha Sunyavadi Pasatya Dishatarine. Hare Krishna. So today Luchananda Prabhu has requested me to read. It's a bit easier than to give class, because you can always read. Don't have to have your own inspiration, but sometimes maybe some can add something to the great work of Satsvarup Maharaj, Satsvarup Das Goswami. He had made the huge task of giving this Lilamrita, Prabhupada Lilamrita, of the life of Srila Prabhupada. Great job. So we start wherever, huh? Prabhupada at home in India. Actually, Prabhupada arrived in America in 1965, right? And it was not so easy for him. He was always going to the pier where the boats, back to India were starting, and he was kind of maybe homesick or uncertain. It was a struggle for him to be in this cold place, New York, especially in the winter. Someone here has gone to New York? You've been, huh? I was there in June a few years ago. It was so cold, still in June. And then the day after it was better, but it was very cold. To the extent that I promised myself, I'll go in a shop and I will buy a coat, a warm coat. It was very difficult because at that time, it was about to be summer, and they were only selling shorts and summer cloth, It was very difficult to find some warm cloth. I could find finally, to save myself to become sick, So I can imagine in winter, you have snow and everything, isn't it? So when you come from a tropical country like Calcutta, Prabhupada was born in Calcutta in 1896. Yeah. So let's go into the book. Prabhupada was displeased to see how slow the construction was progressing at Hare Krishna land in Bombay. The monsoon had flooded the foundation, and what little work had been done appeared to be of poor quality. The whole project should have been finished in 6 months, Prabhupada says, but he startled the devotees by saying, at least complete it within my lifetime. But we see whatever I think it's not even a spiritual reality, but this world, there is the law of resistance. Whatever you do, there is some opposing element. If there was no resistance, you take a ball, you push it, it will go to the end of the world, But as soon as you put some energy, there is counter opposition, As we say, if you stay in Maya, in ignorance, in darkness, nobody can see, And if there is so many discrepancies, it remain unseen. But if you raise into the goodness where the light is, it's like a white sheet, little spot everybody can see. So imagine with project as a huge project as Srila Prabhupada was involved in, how much opposition he had to Krishna Balaram, Gornitai, Raghavindra. So much opposition he had to face. Surabhi, you've heard about Surabhi? He was the husband of Mother Kishori, yeah. From Holland. He was from Holland. And Murti showed him drawings for other temples. An interested person in Nator, near Hyderabad, was speaking of donating land, and the devotees had drawn up plans for a temple complex. Coupled with library and dormitories. Prabhupada approved the plans. The temple buildings, he said, should be traditional, according to the Shastric directions, but the other buildings could incorporate more modern designs. He also studied and approved plans for temples in Hyderabad and Fiji. Fiji is the land of Kalia, no? You've heard that? One nice devotee is very disciple of Sadhvarup Maharaj, of Tamal Krishna Maharaj. I forgot his name. He's very skinny. He's always traveling. It told me about this place. It's another world, you know, very, very luxuriant and very different than what we're experiencing here. Yeah. What's his name? Oh, anyways, he's famous in ISKCON. He's from Fiji originally.
Oh, Vicharu.
Vicharu, yeah. You know him, huh? He's always flying somewhere. It's very funny. He likes very much pizza, but he has a very weak stomach, you know. So he indulges in pizza like anything, then he becomes sick. Like anything, he promised he will never take any more, and the next day, oh, well, pizza. Yeah, it's difficult for him. It's very funny.
I like it that way.
You know? Vicharu.
Prabhu, maybe you have to master only speak French, so maybe you have to say a few things in French also.
Yeah. Et qui c'est qui parle que français? Vous parlez pas anglais, Mataji?
Non, ça fait rien.
Non?
Ça va.
Ça va. Et toi, ça va? Théo? Théo le théosophe. Early, bon, let's continue. Alors, tôt le matin, à moins que tout le monde parle français, non, c'est pas le cas non plus. Early the next morning, Srila Prabhupada called for Surabhi and Murti and again went over their various plans with detailed interest. He had little time left before his meeting with the Prime Minister. However, and the next day he left for Delhi. Very tight schedule, huh? New Delhi, August 22, 1975. At 9:15 in the morning, alors à Delhi, tu as compris, à 9h15 du matin, Srila Prabhupada and several of his leading disciples arrived at the Prime Minister's house, where they were confronted by a formidable security check. So you can see, as soon as people engage in politics, naturally you make yourself enemies, friends and enemies. I remember once I was in Delhi, in the temple in Delhi, in Easter of Kailash ashram. You've been in the Delhi temple? No? And there was a big person who was visited, you know, and they went through all the temple with some detecting, bomb detecting machine, you know. Oof, it was amazing, you know. Wherever these people go, you know, there is so much security. They need to move so much. They put. You can see recently this Trump, doing his campaign for presidency. He almost got killed by gunshot. Yeah, politics is like that. But I remember once Prabhupada said, politicians, they are like insects. They fight with each other, and someday they die. That's the issue of politics, which is material science, And if you were those who have assisted to the drama of Nishingadev recently, this Sanda and America, they were teaching politics to Prahlad Maharaj, which is a material science actually, but Prahlad Maharaj was not interested. But still, Prabhupada said devotees eventually should engage in politics, and we see Arjuna also. Arjuna was a warrior. So according to times and circumstances, but in a detached way, as the Vedic kings, they were not taking position for the advantage they could obtain from leadership, but as service to Krishna, because ultimately, what are we? Jivera Nityadas. So according to our natural nature, not our true nature. And what we see in Prabhupada's life, he has totally realized this. We didn't realize it because Krishna Buli. Krishna Buli means? Yeah, the two of them. C'est Jiva Anadi Bhirmukha. On s'est dit que à cause de notre oubli de Krishna, Buli, c'est Jiva. Jiva, c'est nous, les âmes distinctes. C'est quelque chose, c'est Jiva Anadi. Adi Lila, Madhya Lila, Antya. Qu'est-ce que ça veut dire Adi? Adi, Madhya, Antya. Adi, ça veut dire? Yeah. Anadi, alors qu'est-ce que ça veut dire Anadi? Sans beginning, without beginning. C'est-à-dire, since time immemorial, before history, before prehistory, Bahir Mukha. Nishingadev disait, Bahir Nishingo, Hridaye Nishingo. Bahir means? Yeah, you know? Bahir, Mukha, what is Mukh? Face. So we turn, because of our forgetfulness of Krishna, we turn our face toward the Bahir, the external energy. And as a result, Ateva Maya Tare Dewa Samsara Dukho. As a reward for our forgetfulness and put our attention towards the external energy, Ateva Maya Tare Samsara Dukho. Parce qu'on est oublié de Krishna et donc on tourne notre attention vers l'énergie externe, vers le monde matériel. Comme récompense, Maya, elle nous tape dessus dans le cycle des morts et des renaissances. Voilà la situation dans ce monde. Le résultat de l'oubli de Krishna. Et Prabhupada a adopté la tâche inconcevable finalement de ramener les gens, l'humanité entière, à leur juste compréhension, à leur juste conscience. It's quite unfathomable and unconceivable task Prabhupada accepted to redirect the entire human society toward their real understanding of who they are. That is time and time repeating. You're not this body. You're not this body. You're not this body. But everything's going on, especially in politics. It's related to the body. Like this Trump, he was saying, "Yeah, we shall conquer again, us Americans." But for how long are you Americans? It will take maybe 20. He's very old, 79, no? So how many years is going to be an American? And then Prabhupada is adding, so, and where are you going to be next life? Maybe you will be in the White House, who knows? So Prabhupada is always giving the right right Siddhanta, you know. I'm personally reading every morning, not reading but listening to Prabhupada's lectures, you know, and he's always very steady and immovable, actually. They say something about devotee. You know what, there's one saying about Stavaranam Himalayas. You've heard about this? Stavaranam Himalayas? The Himalayas, they are steady. They are more fixed than the Meru mountain, which is a pivot of the universe. You know, even the Meru can shake sometimes, but Himalayas are unmovable. And an accomplished devotee, like Srila Prabhupada, is Stavaranam Himalayas. He is as fixed as the Himalayas themselves. And the prerogative of these people is that they can create other Malaya, they call that Malaya Dvajja, people which are of the same stature as himself, that which can unshakable in their determination and understanding and preaching Krishna consciousness. You know. Himalaya is what, you know, the castle made of sand, you know, a castle made of sand. There is a storm comes, but it cannot stand. But a mountain, a mighty mountain, it will stand up to the sun, it will never be moved, etc., etc. Isn't it? So are you building on sand or are you building on rock? Your existence. Better build on rock, huh? Because sand will be first difficulty, gone. But build on the rock, no, it will stand. It's very, I remember, you know, a few years ago, many years ago, I don't remember when, you've heard about the Kedarnath catastrophe? You heard about this? Actually, I was there 3 days before it happens. In the Himalayas, you know, they are creating dams. A dam, you know what is a dam? Dans les Himalayas, ils font des barrages. And there was around this Kedarnath, which is around, not far from 4,000 meters, you know, 3,000 something, there was 170 dams which had been created, you know, by men. And in the Himalayas there is some clouds, they call cloud burst. It's like a you know, water bomb, you know, when we were kids we did water bombs, and I know it's last. And what happened is that these clouds, you know, suddenly they burst, you know, cloud burst, they open, and it made this dam overflow. And the place of Kedarnath was completely devastated. There is a village down before, because from this village there is no, to go to Kedarnath there is no road for cars. So it took us 1 day we traveled, we went for climbing from 2,000 meter, you know, the length, 2,000 meter. And this village was called Gorikund, from where you start walking. And there, I think they collected tons and tons of ghee, or wood of ghee, or whatever, to burn the bodies, you know, dead bodies. So many. And we left this place 3 days before it happened. And I remember we arrived in Delhi, I think, somewhere. And there is a big Shiv Murti of Shiv, you know. And usually the Ganges is just at his feet. But this time it was there already, you know. And what to say all this? Yes, but there is the temple of Kedarnath, the Shiv temple, with walls thick like this, you know. And the whole town was devastated by the flood, you know. All the hotels, they were swept away, you know. Everything was swept away practically, because they were cheap material, you know. But the temple, it didn't move. It was not damaged. So you have to build on something strong, you know. You can see. We can see also this this temple created by Prabhupada and his associate is still existing, although there has been so many difficulties, oppositions, and nearly swept away also. At one time, it was mortgaged, he says, the temple, I remember at that time the companies, they were coming and taking away everything. So we were hiding, valuables here, there. It was on the verge to be lost, And some devotees, I will mention him because it's true, like Madhavendra Puri and other devotees, Gadadhar Priya, they collected, so much money to face the crisis and to be able to repay the loan we had taken to keep that place. Devotees have been struggling and giving their lives, for that to maintain this project of Srila Prabhupada. Okay, New Delhi, August 22. So it's okay for you if I speak like this, or I should just read? Yeah. At 9:15 in the morning, Srila Prabhupada and several formidable security check. 2 days before, the Prime Minister of Bangladesh had been assassinated. Who was the Prime Minister of Bangladesh? I think it was Bangabandhu, the father of the the actual Prime Minister was a very nice lady who was called Sheikh Hasina. In 71, Bangladesh was almost devastated by the East Pakistan. There is West Pakistan. And the actual Pakistan at that time was called West Pakistan. And Bangladesh was called East Pakistan. And because the West Pakistan had the managerial authority, they wanted to completely destroy the Bengali culture. They wanted to destroy their flag, they wanted to destroy their culture, they wanted to destroy their vocabulary, everything, to the extent that they slaughtered most of the intellectuals in Bangladesh. And Bangabandhu, the father of the Sheikh Hasina, he could fight back with the help of India also, the onslaughts of the actual Pakistan. You've heard about the events of 71? It was big, terrible genocide coming. I remember one devotee, a friend of mine, is one of the leading devotees in Bangladesh now. He lives he's coming from a village which is called Shuknagar. And this near, if those who know a bit about this place, Kulna, Shatkira, near the border with India, And at this place, there was people were called Rajakar, and just near his house, there were these people. They were gathering people, from Hindus mostly, I guess, to run away from Bangladesh, actual Bangladesh, to go to India. And they were gathering these people, and when they were gathered, they were calling the Pakistanis soldiers, and everybody was gone. That's history, We say history repeats itself, Same thing happened during the occupation, There were Jews also, there were some individuals would say, we shall help you, go away from these countries, you save your life. And once the people gain confidence, they would slaughter him or say to the Gestapo, this guy such and such and such. We see the history of human race is quite ghastly altogether, isn't it? Anyway. Yes, so now this Sheikh Hasina, recently, there's a big havoc now in Bangladesh. She had to run, although she was a very nice lady, she talked about ISKCON, she's a Muslim, but she said this ISKCON movement is very is very nice. It is presenting our very deep and beautiful culture, Sanskriti. And she spoke very nice about us. And she could gather and collect so much money from Japan, from China, to help the country, But now she had to run for her life, and she's in Delhi, I guess, or somewhere in India. And so there is no government now, and in Bangladesh. And the situation is quite scary. It's like in time of King Vena, King Vena? You've heard about him? Because King Vena had been killed by the Brahmins. He was very cruel. He was son of, who was his mother? King Vena's mother? She was death personified. Yeah. And father was very disturbing. So imagine, this boy, he was so cruel that already from his childhood, his childhood friends, he would kill them one after another. He was very heavy character, He was so heavy and also foolish that eventually the Brahmins, which had power at that time, but by mantras, it killed him, And the situation was, because he was cruel, but he was very strict, and the dacoits, they were very scared. They were hiding everywhere. But as soon as he got killed, there was no power, in the country, no ruling power. So all the dacoits and bandits, they would raise, and put a mess in the country. Same thing is going on now in Bangladesh, because there is no established government. Everybody does what he likes, and so many dangerous people rise, and they terrorize Hindus especially. That's the situation, what to do, So, yes, I know that Bangabandhu, the father of the country, had been assassinated. And Mrs. Gandhi was rumored to be next. Gandhi family has been, so many have been killed in this family. Indira Gandhi and Mahatma Gandhi also. Armed soldiers therefore surrounded her residence. The guards at the outer gate decided that the foreigners could not go in. Srila Prabhupada also alone could enter. So where does it enter? In the house of who? Of the Prime Minister. It doesn't say his name, but they are in the house of the Prime Minister. While one guard opened the gate, another ushered Srila Prabhupada in a car, which carried him to the Prime Minister's front door. Meanwhile, the devotees waited in anxiety by the outer gate. Always some disciples would accompany Prabhupada whenever he went. His disciples worried, almost like doting parents, that he might need their assistance. Devotees were like motherly attached to Srila Prabhupada, because he was very powerful, Prabhupada, I heard, but he was very frail also, like almost shaking, He was, imagine, Senapati Bhakta, the commander-in-chief against the forces of Kali in Kali Yuga, which is very powerful, And it's not a 18 days war is launching. It's a long-lasting war, against the forces of Kali. Prabhupada is the general-in-chief to face this age of quarrel and hypocrisy. But he was very frail also at the same time, If you've heard of one devotee is born in Subhag Maharaj. Subhag Maharaj, he is a very nice Prabhupada disciple also. He was born in Netrokana in Bangladesh. And he said, once Prabhupada, it was winter, and there was ice on the ground, And the devotees, Prabhupada said to the devotees, he said to them, watch out, there is ice, you may slip. And the devotees naturally, they say to Prabhupada, what about you? Me, there's no problem. I'm in another atmosphere. I remember that.
He's floating.
Yeah, some devotees saw him floating actually.
I have one devotee, I'm sorry to interject.
No, okay.
Yeah, Sahadev Prabhu in Australia, he was saying he was walking with Prabhupada in Melbourne. He was walking on the beach, Prabhupada. He could see everybody else's footprints, but there's no footprints for Prabhupada.
Amazing, yeah? Scary. Who's that man?
I will go back to the spiritual world and find out.
Actually, the devotees devotee who would massage Srila Prabhupada, you know, young, bulky American guys, you know, they couldn't move him, you know. At the same time, he was like Himalayas, you know, very frail and immensely powerful. Amazing personality, that's for sure. So we can conclude Prabhupada was not an ordinary man. The devotees, though they were with the parental feelings for Prabhupada, they were anxious. What would happen to Prabhupada going alone somewhere? So, in tiny, cramped handwriting, Srila Prabhupada had noted down in a small address book a list of points he wanted to discuss with Mrs. Gandhi. Wow, it's directly from him. So first, I'll tell you the list, what Prabhupada had written. Grant immigration for 500 foreigners. 2. At all MPs initiated Brahmins. I don't know what it means. Sanjaya the king. 4. Closed slaughterhouses. 5. Chanting. 6. What means cramped handwriting? Cramped. Cramped handwriting. In tiny, cramped handwriting. Oh, very, very small. Yeah. So he wrote that. 6. Meat eaters at home. No meat eaters at home. No public meat eating. Or that's what he was asking from Mrs. Gandhi. 7. Prostitution punishable. 8. No religious group except Bhagavad Gita as it is. 9. All government officers must join kirtan at least twice a day. He was bold, Srila Prabhupada, you know. But his disciples also, they were bold, you know. In Prabhupada's time, for example, Hari Vilas, you've heard about him maybe? Former Prabhupada disciple. He's in Seattle now, he's with cancer. He dared to go to meet with the director of L'Olympia. You've heard about L'Olympia in Paris? Very, very famous place for where all the great it's not a dancing hall. It's how you call this? L'Olympia music hall. Very famous. You know. Today we can, and I remember this Hari Vilas. You know, he went to meet this man as a brahmachari at that time with one red socks and the other green. You know, and he said, "Tomorrow, the guru of the Beatles is coming. You have to give us this town hall." And the guys, he was completely, he gave it to the devotees. Today we cannot imagine even to go to the Olympia, you know. It's not, you know. But unfortunately, to some extent, Prabhupada came, but it was a few days before, so there was not so much advertisements. So very, very few people came, you know. But the devotee, they could do so many amazing things, you know. I remember, because it's a memory, you know, the former temple, first it was in Fontenay-aux-Roses, you heard about this? Paris temple was first, the first one was in Fontenay-aux-Roses. Only one which has been to this place is this devotee who comes on Sunday, which is Chaitanya Swarup. It's only one. Me, I've seen this Rue Le Sieur. Has anyone gone to Rue Le Sieur already? When devotee come to Paris, they make a kind of a parikrama where Srila Prabhupada was having some events, And this Rue Le Sieur, what was the temple in Paris, And I was just a kind of student, a bit frail also, Parisian, I had holes in my shoes and this. And I remember I found myself there, and there's 4 Mataji devotees who came out from the temple. I didn't enter the temple, And they were going towards the metro station Argentine, toi qui es parisien, tu connais. And I was suddenly feeling I was just taken by 4 powerful white horses. I was caught in the energy of these ladies, They were working Rue Le Sieur toward the metro, And I was suddenly feeling, wow, where am I? There's an energy following them, And I went maybe 200, 300, 400 meters, And then they disappeared in the metro, But for some instance, for minutes, I was in another world, Prabhupada times the devotee, there was a different energy, I guess. Yeah. And I remember at that time also I went to the temple, in Paris temples, Rue Le Sieur. I couldn't see the deities, it was not my time. But there was so much energy, there was a Vyasasan, Prabhupada Vyasasan, and so much energy coming from this Vyasasan. That's my experience, I was feeling energy coming from there, Special.
What year was this?
Maybe 74, 75, something like this, yeah. But devotees, they were distributing, invitations, so I went there, but nothing happened. I remember once there was one lady, her name is Sakshi. She was Prabhupada's disciple. She departed recently, and she was the wife of Charanambuja. If you heard about him, maybe. He is a Prabhupada disciple. He made quite a good career with Herbalife. He lives in America. He was quite prominent devotee in France. Yeah. I remember he did, for Gaur Purnima, he was playing the part of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he shaved his entire body, no hair, to look like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. At that time, devotees, they were doing wonderful plays. There was another devotee, he played the part of, what's his name, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his uncle, Muslim, Chankazi. So the devotee was playing the part for Chankazi. He was on the first floor there from the window, and all the people, all the civil disobedience people were shouting to him, and gave his speech. We made it kind of real, with the castle itself at that time. It was not on the stage, it was with the castle itself. Anyway.
This was Hinduism no Maharaj.
Huh?
Hinduism no Maharaj.
No. He doesn't play the parts of the villains usually. He plays the parts of...
He was during his time, the dramas were taken.
Yeah, Bhagavan time and all this, yeah. But it was so strict. It was so special at that time, I just had joined for a few days, I was already dressed in orange and Sika, everything, and I remember for the Gaur Purnima, I think we've been fasting for 2 days and not sleeping for 2 nights. I was completely, I didn't know where I was anymore, But one thing I remember, it was a feast, fantastic feast after. And devotee, we took feast prasadam here in the temple. Yeah. Yeah. So, Prime Minister from the... all government officers must join Kirtan at least twice a day. 10. Support Krishna consciousness all over the world. some amazing thing about Srila Prabhupada also. He had so many ideas, you know. He wanted that to be provide for him a white limousine to impress the Indians, you know. So he wanted that, you know, on the white limousine should be written, Ase Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, spiritual master of the Americans, to impress the Indians, you know. But myself, I felt, if Srila Prabhupada can be the spiritual master of the Americans, why could not he be my spiritual master, you know? Who am I? If he can lead all the Americans, why not me, you know? It seems funny, but for me it was very impressive, you know, to accept Srila Prabhupada, you know. So, the most pressing items was at the head of the list. Mrs. Gandhi should greet permanent visas to Prabhupada's Western disciples in India. Just a few days before, some of the foreign devotees in Mayapur had been asked to leave the country. For years, Prabhupada had been asking for permanent visas whenever he met governors, members of parliament, or other men of influence. Devotees were constantly being asked to leave the country to renew their 6 months visa. The travel cost incurred and the disruption of the devotees' service seriously hampered ISKCON work in India. Still the same now, it's not, anyway. Unless you marry an Indian lady, you have a permanent visa. Therefore, Prabhupada wanted Indira Gandhi to sanction up to 500 foreign disciples to stay permanently in India. The other points on Srila Prabhupada's list were scriptural directions for how the Prime Minister could make her leadership Krishna conscious in the spirit of the great Raja Rishi of the Vedic age. Special, very special Indira Gandhi, you know, if you've heard about that, but you know she got assassinated. Why? What she was doing, you know? She was, comment dire? She was asking for the sadhus to be sterilized. You know, she was sterilized. And she got a reaction, you know. she got assassinated finally, you know, by trying to sterilize the sadhus. Don't try to sterilize the sadhus. You know what it means, sterilize, you know? Yeah. These were the same tenets of God-conscious leadership he reached whenever he went. And he had deep conviction that if the world's leader would apply them, an era of peace, prosperity, and happiness would dawn. Indira Gandhi had a tendency towards authoritative control, so she should exercise it in terms of Vedic directions. Then her rule could become most effective and beneficial. A government official opened the door to Srila Prabhupada's car, ushered him into the house, and brought him before the Prime Minister. As Prabhupada entered, she's a historical person, no? As Prabhupada entered the room, Mrs. Gandhi stood up. Although she greeted him cordially and offered him a seat, he could immediately detect that she was distracted, fearful for her life. She openly admitted it and added that this was not, therefore, a good time for their meeting. Prabhupada felt that she would have preferred not to meet at all, but was allowing it only because she had promised. Her agreeing to see him, he felt, was an indication that she had some distraction, some attraction for spiritual life, but he understood that on this visit at least he could not introduce the extensive advice he had been contemplating. So it seemed that what he wanted to ask for her, he could not ask it at that time. Miss Gandhi complimented Srila Prabhupada on the work he was doing all over the world. "They are good boys," he replied, and he asked if she could arrange for permanent visas. She agreed, but again mentioned her present anxiety. They soon ended their talk and Srila Prabhupada left. A few days later, while still in New Delhi, Srila Prabhupada received a letter from Rameshwar. The BBT in Los Angeles was miraculously fulfilling Srila Prabhupada's order to publish 17 volumes in 2 months. You know, everybody knows his pastimes. The composers, editors, artists, and workers had ecstatically finished their marathon, unscheduled. When the first book had come back from the printers and had been offered on the altar of Rukmini Dwarkadish, some of you have been to Los Angeles Temple? It's very exemplary. Huh? Everything's paka there. And the temple president, what's his name? Huh? Svavas. He's older now, he's 75, you know, but every day you would see him. That's an example. Mongol Arti, and he goes to his house for chanting Israel, then deity greetings, very, very strict sadhana. His brother is with him now. There are two, you know. I was there last year at this time in Los Angeles. Very nice. Everything's nice there. On the altar of Rukmini Dwarkadish, the devotees had cried in transcendental bliss, chanting again and again the mantras to Srila Prabhupada. They were feeling the potency of the order of the spiritual master and seeing themselves as instruments in carrying out what had once seemed an impossible request. Today, our composer finished the last volume of Chaitanya Charitamrita. By Wednesday next week, August 20th, all volumes will be at the printer. Now they are just starting to compose the 5th canto, and the entire canto will definitely be at the printer by Vyasa Puja Day. After promising delivery of books by October at the least, the letter was signed by about 60 devotees. Your unworthy servants at ISKCON Press, on their behalf, Ramachandra stated, we have lost all desire to do anything except be engaged in producing and distributing your transcendental books by the millions in every town and village. Prabhupada really conquered his followers by love, actually. They said, you know, once I've read one letter written by Gargamuni. You've heard about Gargamuni? It's the one he was 19, who had purchased the temple in Los Angeles. And once I read one of his Vyasa Puja letter. It was like a love letter, you know. The love letter, you know, it was amazing how the devotees were completely mesmerized by Srila Prabhupada, you know. Yeah, it's amazing. Although we following Srila Prabhupada, but we can see those who have seen Prabhupada, they have a different way of talking about him. You can see Prabhupada disciples, very special. Myself, I missed him, but as they say, you know, if you miss the target by 1 millimeter or by 10 meters, it's always missing, it's true. I remember I was in another Rue Le Sieur that time, you know, where the former temple was, And there was a big crowd in the street, you know, the whole street was filled of people, you know. They were expecting a great personality. Who was that personality, do you think? Srila Prabhupada. And myself, I was there, and I was seeing there was people, they had kind of face like not very, didn't look very good, like they were looking like a bit like gangsters, you know. They were not good faces. So I was thinking, oh, I shouldn't stay here. This is not a place for me, you know, and I ran away. Unfortunate, you know. I was not enough, let's say, beaten by the material energy, so I became humble, you know. It was not for me that time. I had to wait until 79, but I couldn't see Prabhupada by this. I think, you know, Chaitanya Swarup, there's a curtain which separated him from Srila Prabhupada and he couldn't see him. You see? Anyway, it's finished now, no? 8:45 we stop? Yes. I finished this. So they were, those Arameshwar Swami at that time, he says that they are ready to give up their life to distribute books. Srila Prabhupada wrote back the next day from Delhi, regarding your desire for all 12 cantos, you will get it. Rest assured. Your so much ardent desire will be fulfilled by Krishna. Voilà. Utsahan, they are devotees, good luck, huh? To spread Krishna consciousness with full power, full attention. Srila Prabhupada, Lilamrita ki, Srila Prabhupada. I put it here.
Okay.
Yeah.